My name is Olivia Bennett, and I was 29 years old when I learned that the people who call themselves family can sit 3 feet from a television and still not recognize who you are until the rest of the country says your name first. The strangest part is, I gave them a chance. One day before the biggest award ceremony of my life, I opened our family group chat and typed a simple invitation. I told them there would be a live broadcast, that I had been selected for a national honor, and that it would mean more than I could explain if they came, or at least, watched. I waited with my phone in my hand like I was 17 again, hoping this time would be different. Then my father answered. He said he was not wasting his evening on some stupid trophy. My mother agreed that a family dinner sounded like a better use of time. My sister told me not to make everyone feel guilty, as if asking them to witness the biggest moment of my career was some selfish little performance. I looked at those messages while the official program sat open on my laptop, my name printed beside work that had helped warn families before storms reached their streets and helped emergency crews move faster when every minute mattered. To them, it was stupid. So I did not argue. I did not beg. I typed one word. Understood. Then I put my phone down and let them make their choice. The next night, while they sat around that family dinner, my face appeared on national television, and by the time they understood what they had dismissed, the empty seats beside me had already said everything. Before I tell you what happened after that broadcast and why my father could not undo what he said, tell me what the weather is like where you are right now. Does it match your mood today? To understand why that one word, understood, felt like a door closing, you have to understand what it was like growing up in the Bennett house. We lived in Naperville, a clean, comfortable suburb outside Chicago, the kind of place where lawns were trimmed before sunrise and parents knew each other by their kids' jersey numbers. My father, Richard Bennett, was a high school football coach, and in our town, that meant something. People stopped him at grocery stores. Former players shook his hand at gas stations. Parents treated his words like advice carved into stone. He loved being seen as the man who built character, taught discipline, and believed family came first. That was his favorite phrase, family first. He said it before games, at booster events, during school fundraisers, even at dinner when he wanted everyone to put their phones away and listen to him talk. My mother, Linda Bennett, was a third-grade teacher who knew how to make every difficult thing sound gentle. She rarely yelled. She corrected, softened, explained, and excused. If my father forgot something important, she called it stress. If my sister took all the attention, she called it confidence. If I got overlooked, she called it independence. My older sister, Jessica Bennett, was the child who made sense to them. She was loud, pretty, athletic, social, and always surrounded by people cheering her name. She played volleyball in high school and later turned that same energy into real estate, where every sold house became a family announcement, and every new client became proof that Jessica was born to shine. Then there was me, Olivia, the quiet one. The one who fixed the printer when my mother needed classroom worksheets. The one who reset the router when my father could not upload game footage. The one who built Jessica a website for her first real estate listings, then watched her tell relatives she had figured out branding by herself. My place in the family was useful but invisible. If something broke, they remembered I existed. If something went right, they forgot I had touched it. When I was 12, I entered a school science fair with a weather station I built from cheap sensors, a broken tablet, and parts I ordered with birthday money. I was proud of that project in a way children are proud before the world teaches them to shrink. I made a little display board, practiced my explanation in the mirror, and saved 3 seats near the front because I thought my family would come. They did not. Jessica had a regional volleyball dinner that night, and my father said it was important for the family to support her because team culture mattered. My mother kissed my forehead and told me, "You understand, right? You're so mature about these things." I won second place that night. A teacher took my picture beside the board. When I showed my father later, he barely looked up from his phone. He said, "That's great, Liv. Remind me tomorrow to check the Wi-Fi in the garage." That became the pattern. Jessica got flowers. I got tasks. Jessica got speeches. I got "good job" said from another room. In high school, I joined a coding club and won a small state competition for building a flood alert prototype. My father called it a computer hobby. The same weekend, Jessica's team won a tournament, and he invited half the neighborhood over for barbecue. I remember standing in the kitchen, refilling ice trays for guests, while people asked Jessica to tell the story of the final point again and again. Nobody asked me what I had built. Nobody asked why my teacher had written exceptional work across my certificate. My mother saw me holding it and said, "Honey, put that somewhere safe before it gets sauce on it." That was the closest thing to recognition I got. The thing about being ignored is that it does not always make you angry right away. Sometimes it makes you efficient. I stopped expecting chairs to be filled. I stopped asking who was coming. I stopped saying, "Look what I did." I learned to measure my success by whether the thing worked, not whether anyone clapped. That lesson protected me, but it also made me lonely in ways I did not have words for yet. I became the daughter who did not need much. That sounded like praise in my house, but really it was permission for them to give me less. My father would tell other people he had raised strong girls. What he meant was that Jessica had his pride, and I had his convenience. And for years, I let that be enough because some part of me still believed that if I did something large enough, useful enough, impossible enough to ignore, maybe he would finally look at me and see more than the person who fixed things quietly in the background. I did not go into technology because I wanted attention. I went into it because systems made more sense to me than people did. A storm warning either came too late or on time. A road was either flooded or open. A signal either reached a dispatcher or failed. Data did not pretend to care about you at dinner and then disappear when you needed it. After college, I joined the Chicago Climate Response Lab, a research and technology group that worked with emergency management offices across the Midwest. It did not sound glamorous when I explained it at family gatherings, which was probably why my father stopped listening after the word data. Our team built tools for counties that faced tornadoes, flash floods, extreme heat, power outages, and storms that could change direction faster than people could react. My job was to help design the prediction engine, the part of the system that pulled in radar feeds, river gauges, traffic reports, 911 call patterns, shelter capacity, and local infrastructure data, then turned all of that noise into warnings people could actually use. The first version was ugly. It crashed at the worst times. It flagged roads as safe when local crews knew they were already taking water. It overreacted to false signals and underreacted to quiet ones. I spent nights staring at maps until county lines blurred on my screen. I ate vending machine dinners beside people who cared enough to argue over seconds. Because in our work, seconds were not abstract. They were the difference between a school bus turning away from a flooded underpass or driving straight into it. They were the difference between an elderly couple getting a knock on the door before the water rose or waiting upstairs with no power and no way out. The project changed for me after a storm hit a small town southwest of Joliet. The official report was only a few pages, but I read it until I knew every timeline by heart. A creek had risen faster than expected. Then, a main road closed before dispatchers had a reliable alternate route. A rescue unit lost 10 minutes rerouting around water nobody had marked yet. 10 minutes can sound small when you are sitting in a dry office. It does not sound small when someone is calling for help from a house filling with water. I kept thinking, we had the data somewhere. It existed. We just did not connect it fast enough. That thought would not leave me alone. Dr. Maya Whitfield, our research director, noticed. Maya was the first person in my adult life who looked at my obsession with details and did not call it overthinking. She called it responsibility. She gave me harder problems instead of telling me to relax. When other people were ready to move on from a model that was good enough, Maya would glance at me and say, "Olivia, what is still bothering you?" And I would tell her. The timing gap, the missing local reports, the way rural roads disappeared from official maps during emergencies. The fact that warnings meant nothing if they did not reach people in language they trusted and routes they could actually drive. Our team built and rebuilt the system around those questions. We tested it with volunteer fire departments, county emergency offices, dispatch centers, and community shelters. We learned that a perfect forecast was useless if it arrived in a format nobody could read during a crisis. We learned that local knowledge mattered as much as satellite data. We learned that technology had to support people, not replace their judgment. The first real success came during a spring storm season that had everyone on edge. Our system flagged a cluster of rural roads likely to flood before the official closure notice came through. It suggested moving 2 rescue units closer to a vulnerable neighborhood and sending an early alert to a mobile home community near a drainage basin. The county followed the recommendation. Later, one of the emergency coordinators called our office. His voice sounded exhausted and raw. He said, "Your system gave us 12 minutes. That was enough." I wrote those words on a sticky note and kept it under my monitor. 12 minutes. Enough time for a parent to wake a child. Enough time for a dispatcher to redirect a crew. Enough time for someone to leave before the road disappeared. That was the moment my work stopped feeling like code and started feeling like a promise. The award nomination did not come from me. I would never have known what forms to submit or which committee to impress. A regional emergency management coordinator gathered the data after one brutal storm season. Response times had improved in several pilot areas. More warnings were delivered before roads became impassable. Shelters reported better preparation windows. People who had never met me wrote statements about what those extra minutes meant. Maya called me into a conference room one afternoon and closed the door. For one terrible second, I thought something had gone wrong. Instead, she slid a printed packet across the table. At the top was my name. She told me I had been nominated for the National Disaster-Preparedness Innovation Award and that the committee wanted to speak with the person who designed the heart of the prediction engine. I laughed because I thought she was exaggerating. Maya did not laugh with me. She said, "Olivia, you need to understand something. The world does not get safer because people clap for the loudest person in the room. It gets safer because someone like you refuses to leave the hard problem alone." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But some old part of me still heard my father's voice calling it a hobby, still saw my mother gently moving my certificate away from barbecue sauce, still felt the empty seats from a science fair that happened more than a decade earlier. So when the committee interviews began, I answered every question carefully, professionally, almost like I was talking about someone else. I explained the model. I explained the pilot. I explained why warning systems had to consider human behavior, not just weather patterns. I did not tell them that I had spent most of my life becoming good at helping people who barely noticed me. Maybe that was why the work fit me so well. I knew what it meant to see danger before anyone else cared enough to look. The official email arrived on a rainy Wednesday afternoon while I was between meetings. I opened my inbox expecting another request for documentation. Instead, I saw the committee seal and the subject line, "Congratulations, National Disaster Preparedness Innovation Award recipient." For a few seconds I did not click it. I just stared at the words, waiting for them to become smaller. They did not. The email said I had been selected to receive the award at a nationally televised ceremony at McCormick Place in Chicago. There would be emergency response leaders, researchers, public officials, community representatives, media outlets, and a live broadcast segment carried by a national network. My name would be printed in the program. A short video about our system would play before I walked on stage. Then came the line that made the email feel heavier. I could invite up to 4 family members or close guests. 4 seats. 4 chances for people who had missed almost every quiet milestone to show up for one loud enough that even they could not ignore it. At work, everyone was thrilled. Marcus Reed, my project manager, slapped the side of my cubicle like we had just won a playoff game. Maya hugged me and said she was proud in a voice so steady it almost broke me. Communications started talking about media prep. Someone joked that I needed to practice smiling without looking like I was solving a math problem. For the rest of the day, people stopped by my desk with coffee, sticky notes, awkward congratulations, and one tiny plastic tornado from the intern team labeled, "She warned us." I let myself feel happy inside those office walls because those people knew what the award meant. They knew the late nights, the failed tests, the counties that trusted us before the system looked impressive enough for headlines. I did not tell my family that day. I told myself I was waiting for the right moment, but really, I was afraid. Afraid my father would hear award and imagine a boring banquet. Afraid my mother would ask how long it would take. Afraid Jessica would change the subject before I finished speaking. A week before the ceremony, I almost invited only Maya, Marcus, and 2 emergency coordinators from the pilot counties. That would have been easy and safe. But the guest section sat on my kitchen table like a dare. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted proof. Maybe the 12-year-old version of me was still saving seats near the front. The day before the ceremony, I opened the family group chat. My father had just sent a photo of steaks he planned to grill for Jessica's celebratory dinner because she had closed a large property sale. My mother had replied with hearts. Jessica had posted a selfie with the caption, "Big week for the Bennett family." I stared at that phrase, then typed my invitation. I included the venue, the time, the live stream link, and said I would love for them to come or watch. My father answered first. "We're not wasting our time on some pointless trophy." My mother followed. "Honey, tomorrow is already planned. A family dinner is a better use of our evening." Jessica came last. "Don't make us feel guilty. Not everything has to be a big dramatic moment." I did not cry. Instead, a quietness settled over me. There it was. Not bad timing, not confusion. A choice. I looked at the guest list and removed the empty family seats before I could change my mind. Maya would sit beside me. Marcus would be there. 2 emergency coordinators would take the other seats. People who had answered when it mattered. I typed one word into the chat. Understood. My father sent a thumbs up. The next morning, I pressed my dress, reviewed my remarks, and drove into Chicago under a steel gray sky. At McCormick Place, staff checked my ID, clipped a badge to my dress, and guided me through banners about resilience, innovation, and public service. During rehearsal, someone showed me where to stand, when to walk, and which screen would show my video. I nodded like I was calm. Inside, I kept thinking about my family choosing dinner over this room. Then Maya arrived, took my hand, and said, "Tonight is not about who failed to see you. It is about the people who are alive because you refused to stop working." I carried that sentence into the ballroom. By the time the ceremony began, the ballroom felt almost unreal. The stage glowed in soft blue light. 3 massive screens hung above it, large enough to make a single face impossible to ignore. Round tables filled the floor, marked with names of agencies, universities, city departments, and emergency response teams. I saw firefighters in dress uniforms, scientists with tired eyes, public health leaders, storm survivors, and officials who had spent their careers preparing for disasters most people only think about when sirens sound. I sat between Maya and Marcus with my hands folded so nobody would see them shaking. The program opened with speeches about public service and invisible work. Normally, words like that can sound polished until they lose meaning, but that night, they felt real. Around me were people who understood what invisible work cost. They knew the best emergency was the one nobody noticed, because the worst outcome never happened. When our category came closer, Maya leaned toward me and whispered, "Breathe." Across town, my family was sitting down to dinner. I learned the details later from Ethan, my younger brother, who had been home because my mother asked him to come. My father had grilled steaks like he was celebrating a championship. Jessica had brought expensive dessert and placed it in the center of the table like a trophy. My mother had set out the good plates. The TV was on in the living room because my father wanted the sports segment after dinner. At first, nobody paid attention. They talked about Jessica's sale, her client, her future listings, and how proud everyone was. My father apparently raised his glass and said, "Now this is what a real accomplishment looks like." Ethan told me he looked at the TV right after that because he heard the words, "National Disaster-Preparedness Innovation Award." In the ballroom, the lights lowered and the video began. A map of the Midwest appeared on the screens. Storm systems moved across Illinois and Indiana. Then came footage of flooded roads, dispatchers answering calls, volunteers stacking sandbags, and families entering shelters. The narrator explained that disaster preparedness was not just reacting after tragedy, but building systems that helped communities move before danger became unavoidable. Then my name was spoken, Olivia Bennett. The video showed our dashboard, alert maps, and interviews with emergency coordinators describing the extra minutes our system had given them. One man said, "We had a neighborhood cleared before the water reached the main road. That kind of warning changes outcomes." I felt Maya's hand press my shoulder. Then the host returned to the podium. He spoke about a young engineer from Illinois whose work connected weather data, local response teams, and community alerts in real time. He said the system represented the best kind of innovation because it did not exist for applause. It existed so people could get home alive. Then he called my name. Walking to the stage felt longer than any hallway I had ever crossed. The applause rose around me, warm and huge, but I could barely hear it over my heartbeat. I accepted the glass award, turned toward the audience, and saw my image appear on the screens above the room. I was standing steady, holding proof that the thing my father called pointless had never been pointless at all. In Naperville, that same image filled my parents' television. Ethan said Jessica stopped mid-sentence. My mother turned from the table with a serving spoon in her hand. My father looked annoyed at first, like the TV had interrupted him. Then the caption appeared under my face. Olivia Bennett, National Disaster Preparedness Innovation Award recipient. Nobody moved. Ethan said the room went so quiet he could hear the refrigerator humming. The host mentioned emergency crews, storm warnings, flood evacuations, and communities helped by our system. My mother whispered, "Is that Olivia?" Jessica said nothing. My father kept staring. That was the part Ethan remembered most. Recognition arriving too late and bringing shame with it. On stage, I stepped to the microphone. I thanked my team, the emergency coordinators, the dispatchers, the volunteers, and the community leaders who made warnings matter in real life. I thanked Maya for teaching me that careful work was not small work. I did not thank my family. Not to punish them, but because the truth mattered. They had not built this with me. They had not believed in it. They had not even chosen to watch until the television made that choice for them. When I returned to my seat, Maya hugged me before I could sit down. Marcus wiped his eyes and blamed allergies. My phone was sealed on silent in my bag, vibrating every few minutes, but I did not open it. For once, I did not leave my own moment to manage their discomfort. I stayed. I took photos with my team. I shook hands with people who wanted to talk about funding rural warning systems. I listened to a county director tell me his staff had cheered when my name was announced. Across town, my father sat at a cooling dinner table, watching strangers praise the daughter he had dismissed less than 24 hours earlier. When I finally opened my phone, it was close to midnight. I was back in my apartment, still wearing my dress, my heels near the door, the award on my kitchen counter under the same light where I had read my father's message the night before. The screen came alive before I even unlocked it. Missed calls from my father, missed calls from my mother, missed calls from Jessica. 2 from Ethan, then messages. The first one from my father came at the exact minute my award segment began. "Is this you on TV?" A minute later. "Olivia, answer your phone." Then, "Why didn't you tell us it was this big?" I stared at that line for a long time. Not congratulations. Not, "I am sorry." Not, "I should have come." Just, "Why didn't you tell us it was this big?" That was my father in one sentence. If he failed to care, it must have been because I failed to present the moment in a way he respected. My mother's messages were softer, but not easier. "Sweetheart, we had no idea this was such a major event. Your father is shocked. We are so proud of you." Jessica's messages came with more exclamation points than sincerity. "OMG Liv, you were literally on national TV. Send me official pictures. I want to post something before everyone else does." I scrolled upward until I reached their messages from the day before. "Pointless trophy. Better use of our evening. Don't make us feel guilty." They sat in the same thread, directly above the sudden pride. Then the conversation shifted in a way that made my stomach turn. My father asked if the school district had seen the broadcast and whether he should mention it to the athletic director because it would be good for the football program to have a connection to a national award winner. My mother wondered if a local station might want to interview the family. Jessica pasted an Instagram caption into the chat. "So proud of my brilliant little sister. I always knew she would change the world." Under it, she wrote, "Too much or cute? Always knew." That phrase almost made me laugh because the alternative was throwing the phone across the room. Jessica had not always known. My mother had not always known. My father had called my work stupid until strangers on television gave him permission to respect it. And now they wanted to stand close enough to the light to look warm. For a few minutes, the old Olivia came back. The one who fixed things. The one who smoothed over awkward moments. I almost typed, "It's okay," just to make everyone breathe easier. I imagined my father relaxing because consequences had passed him by again. I imagined my mother telling relatives I was emotional but fine. I imagined Jessica posting childhood photos and collecting praise from people who knew nothing about the empty chairs. Then I locked my phone. The quiet in my apartment returned. I looked at the award on the counter and thought about Maya, Marcus, the county coordinator who wrote the nomination, and the dispatchers who sent notes when the system worked during storms. None of them asked to borrow my achievement. They helped carry it. That was the difference. I unlocked my phone again, not to reply, but to save the truth. I took screenshots of the invitation, their dismissive replies, the broadcast messages, and their sudden plans to use my name. I made a folder and placed them there. Not to post them, not to start a public trial. I needed a private record, something to protect me if guilt tried to rewrite the facts later. Then Ethan called. I almost ignored it, but I answered. He was quiet at first. Then he said, "I'm sorry, Liv. Not we are proud, not you should understand. Just sorry." He told me what the dinner table looked like when my face appeared on screen. Dad had gone pale, then angry, asking why nobody had explained the award properly. Mom kept saying she wished she had known. Jessica started searching my name online before the segment ended. Ethan said he did not know what to say, so he said nothing, and he was sorry for that too. I appreciated the honesty, but I did not fully absolve him. Silence had been part of my family's language for years. After we hung up, more messages arrived. My father sent, "Call me before you talk to any reporters." That confirmed everything. He was not worried about my heart. He was worried about the story. For the first time, I did not answer. I slept badly, but I slept. And when morning came, I knew exactly what I was going to say. The next morning, sunlight came through my blinds, and for a moment I let myself pretend the night before had been simple. An award, a speech, a celebration. Then my phone buzzed again, and the old world asked to be let back in. I made coffee, sat down, and opened the family chat. My mother had written that people from church were asking about me. Jessica had sent more caption options. My father had asked twice whether the media had contacted me. Then he wrote, "We need to be on the same page as a family." Once, that sentence would have made me obey. Now it made everything clear. Being on the same page had always meant letting him write the page. I typed slowly because I wanted every word to be clean. I told them I knew they had seen the ceremony. I understood they were surprised. Then I told them what would not happen next. They would not contact my coworkers, my mentor, the committee, or anyone connected to the project. They would not give interviews about raising me, supporting me, or always believing in me. They would not post childhood photos that turned neglect into inspiration. If anyone asked why they were not at the ceremony, they were free to tell the truth. I invited them. They dismissed it. They chose dinner. My father replied first. "You are being dramatic and disrespectful." Then, "Do not twist this into an attack on your family." Then, "I sacrificed plenty for you girls." My mother followed with the softer version. She said they were proud in their own way. She said I should not punish people for not understanding something technical. Jessica said I was humiliating everyone over one mistake. I looked at the screen and wrote the sentence I had needed for years. "I did not make you look bad. I gave you a chance to show up, and you chose not to." Then I muted the group chat for a year. I muted individual notifications too. My apartment went quiet in a way that felt almost holy. The consequences did not arrive all at once. They came slowly. The local news replayed my award segment 2 nights later, and because Naperville loves a hometown connection, people started asking questions. Parents from my father's football team recognized my last name. A few congratulated him, and Ethan said my father tried to accept the attention at first. Then someone asked why he had not been at the ceremony. Another parent asked if it was true he had called the award pointless. I never posted the screenshots, but stories travel even without evidence when enough people notice the truth. At school, the athletic director quietly gave the family values speech at the next fundraiser to someone else. My father still had his job, but the shine around him dulled. The man who built his public image on showing up for young people had failed to show up for his own daughter on national television. For someone like him, that was not a small loss. That was where his pride lived. My mother tried to arrange a local feature through a friend, but without my permission and without access to my team, the story went nowhere. Jessica posted one old photo of us anyway. I was 13, standing beside her in a gym lobby while she held a volleyball trophy. Her caption said, "Proud of my little sister since day one." I sent one private message, "Remove my name and stop using my image to rewrite our relationship." She replied angrily, but she removed the tag. By afternoon, someone from high school commented, "Weren't you the one who said her computer stuff was boring?" The post disappeared before dinner. That was the revenge, if you want to call it that. No screaming, No public meltdown, just access removed. Just the truth refusing to bend. Just people learning they could not ignore me in private and claim me in public. In the weeks that followed, my life did not become perfect, but it became quieter and more honest. The award brought attention to the project, and Maya used it the right way. More counties applied for pilot programs. More funding came through for rural alert systems. We started mentoring young engineers interested in climate response, especially students who had been told their quiet skills were not impressive enough to matter. I told them useful work can be lonely before it is recognized. I told them being dependable should not mean becoming invisible. I told them education is not only about degrees or awards. Real education is learning how to value people before the world validates them, and gaining valuable knowledge about yourself before someone else tries to define your worth. Ethan and I talked sometimes. He did not ask me to forgive quickly. My mother sent messages I did not always read. Jessica stopped tagging me. My father never gave an apology that reached the root of the wound. Weeks later, he sent, "I hope you know we are proud." I looked at it for a long time and realized I no longer needed to know what his pride was worth after his choice had already been made. I did not answer. Maybe one day there would be a conversation. Maybe not. Healing does not require giving people the same access they used to hurt you. Success did not fix my childhood. National television did not turn my family into the people I wish they had been. A trophy did not make my father understand me. What changed my life was the moment I stopped treating his attention like proof of my value. Family is not proven by who claims you after applause. It is proven by who respects your effort when there are no cameras, no headlines, and no audience to impress. You are allowed to protect the parts of yourself that took years to rebuild. You are allowed to stop inviting people to the front row of your life when they only show up after the world tells them the seat is valuable. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is not making people suffer. It is becoming whole enough that their approval arrives too late to control you. Our team at Revenge Broken Trust is working hard to create meaningful, emotional, and well-crafted stories that leave viewers with valuable lessons. This story is completely fictional and created for educational purposes, with the goal of sharing thoughtful messages and positive life lessons with our audience. Thank you for listening to the story until the end. If you enjoyed it, please support us with a follow so we can stay motivated to create even more powerful, high-quality, and engaging